Batman 410. Max Allan Collins writing with Dave Cockrum on the art. This is. It felt kind of almost like a finale to a two-parter last issue, but I'm glad to see that they did continue. Like the origin of Jason Todd is a bit more than that, because this starts off with his training. He's 6 months of training, but the says was a time jump, but this is still the origin of how he became Robin, and not just that's just him now. We're back to present day stories.
Yeah, he is Robin, like you say, because that was at the end of the previous issue. But this is still about him. What kind of Robin is he going to be? How did he actually get to be skilled enough? And
he wasn't active Robin, from the sounds of it. It sounds like because he only just gets his outfit in this issue. After a bit of training, it sounds like he's been in the cave learning, judo or whatever for the past 6 months.
Pretty much, yeah. They talk about all the things that he's been doing. Because there's quite a bit that he's been learning.
Yeah, he's been studying the Rogue Gallery. Interesting little panel I thought in here was making sure he knows how guns work and having him fire a gun. Not because he's going to be using it as Robin, but just to understand how they work and the danger of them and stuff like that. I thought that was an interesting take that Batman would train someone with that.
This makes sense to me. I think I know obviously now we associate Batman with never touching guns, but I think the idea that he's proficient with them and that he makes sure okay, if the gun is the only solution, not to shoot someone but to shoot something, right? In the scenario, and he's got the gun there from someone. I'm sure that makes sense for him to use still. That
still tracks, but that's not even necessarily how I kind of read this. This makes sense to me because one of the things Batman will often do is when he grabs someone's gun, he'll take it apart. He has to know how to take one apart. He has to know how it works and how it disassembles. More importantly,
I would agree with that take, except the panel is Jason shooting it, not.
Well, he is, yeah. But I mean, that gives him, it gives him a sense of kickback. Like, is the person going to be like a little off balance after the fire a gun if they're untrained or something?
Sure.
There's lots of things to learn from this outside of just you can aim the gun and shoot well.
Sure, I'm not disregarding those, but I think that's still part of it as well. It's part of the skill set, even if he doesn't want it used.
But the conversation quickly turns to the big coin and therefore Two-Face, and Jason mentions that you've taught me a lot about your Rose Gallery, Penguin, and so on and so on, but you've not really talked about Two-Face. And he tells the origin of Two-Face, but he does leave out the part where his father was killed by Two-Face for he was a Two-Face henchman. He double-crossed him or said something against him, and Two-Face killed him for it. He leaves that part out. I do love, though, that when he's explaining that Two-Face's crimes, because he's explaining the coin and flipping the coin. One thing that's a little bit different here, in this part of continuity, as far as like Two-Face's coin, is that I always associate the coin as being something that Harvey Dent had himself before he became Two-Face. Here it's different. Here it's is it Maroni? I think it just says who the gangster is now. Think about it.
No, I don't know.
But whoever, it's the guy that throws the acid in his face. It's his lucky coin that then he takes and sort of it becomes his. Interesting little difference. I mean, I like it being Harvey's coin from like Long Halloween and stuff, but I mean, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's a small thing. I agree that I prefer it being his coin. That's probably why it's stuck.
Yeah,
but it's not like a deal breaker.
But the thing I love here though is to show that his crimes are always in twos. There's a panel of Two-Face robbing a theater. And the sign above it says a double bill of Rocky and Rocky 2.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. That's what you came up with. There was no other movies that you just thought, a double feature of the first and second movie of something.
I mean, it works. I actually appreciate the drawing of that panel as well, because it's like on a corner and you've got you can see it twice, the sign as well. I think that's a nice touch.
Yeah. So it's two-toned as well. It's just this sort of yellow and light green, and that's the color of the two halves of his suit, but it's also the color of everything else in the panel. So it's
and that plays for the vast majority of the flashback.
That's true. Yeah,
as well. There is like a blue as well at points, but it's mostly in these really muted tones that make it very clear it's flashback.
Well, yes, and most importantly, there's two colors. Two.
There is, yes.
We got the two. So. Alfred does critique Bruce a little bit that he's maybe bringing up Richard a bit too much. He's like, hey, you keep bringing up the past Robin a bit. Maybe you're setting him up to like compare himself to the previous Robin.
I actually really like this because I was feeling like he's mentioning Robin a lot, and he's always like the previous Robin, and I was starting to feel it, and I was like, to the point where I was gonna bring it up to critique it because it was starting to get on my nerves. And then Alfred called him out on it. I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. I'm cool with it now.
Yeah, it's a story beat. So he takes him to Gordon for the first time because the bat signal goes up. He's got his new Robin outfit, and he introduces Gordon to the kid. And Gordon's like, I thought you swore off working with the child again. And don't get me wrong, I think Batman's logic, a little more so with the Alfred scene than the Gordon scene, because with Gordon he doesn't really go into it too much, is that, well, he's already gone down a path where he's on the street, he's fighting, like, I'm channeling his energy into something better, because he's going to be a little delinquent if I don't.
He's basically decided it's this or he's going to end up in jail.
Yeah. But, you know, there was a letter sent to the police that addressed to Batman and Gordon, and inside there's playing cards, and there's 2 pairs of face cards.
And a 2.
And a 2, of course, yes, and a 2.
Yeah.
And Jason's like, this must be Two-Face, and then they realise, oh, he's got these henchmen that are both twins. There's 2 sets of twins. They're just twins. There's 2 sets of twins.
That is like peak Two-Face.
So Two-Face and one of these sets of twins, the mustache ones, they're going to rip off the sort of the pickup, the money pickup from a casino on the outskirts of Gotham or wherever it is, and yeah, we get this whole scene of like, and honestly, this was kind of a funny sequence for me. Was like them not quite getting his plan and Two-Face yelling at them for like not quite getting it, and even the moment where he flips the coin to see if they're going to do the crime, and like the one guy turns to us like, does that mean we do it? I was like, that means we do it.
I like how frustrated they were as well, because it wasn't just they weren't getting it at first as well. They were like, okay, so we're going to do it. We'll case the joint. We'll come back tomorrow. It's like, no, we do it now. It's like, but we're completely unprepared. He's like, I don't care. This is how it works.
Yeah, fate.
Yeah.
It came up tails or heads, whatever it would have been for the choice. I don't know which one it was. And we're going to do it. And it is quite dark. Two-Face actually kills a guard. One of the guards that are taking the money out, he kills. He threatens to shoot into the crowd, which is also very dark. And he's got 2 trucks outside, of course, because, well, Two-Face. But Batman and Robin show up, have a bit of a tuffle with them. Robin takes care of the henchman, and Jason does his big sort of like heroic moment of the issue is that Two-Face takes a hostage, just this old woman, and Batman says, hey, take me instead, you know, don't hurt someone innocent. And Two-Face, quite rightly, says, well, no, you're Batman, like, if I take you, you're just going to, like, beat me within seconds. Like, that's not a chance. You're a bad hostage, okay? You're too capable. Yeah. And Jason's like, oh, how about me? I'm a kid. I'm close to Batman, and I'm the second Robin. And that's really what convinces him. I'm the second Robin. Yeah, that's your theme.
Yeah. It's working.
So he takes Robin back to his 2-tone car, but you know, Jason, you know, dives out, hits the brakes, yada yada. Batman chastises him a little bit for it, but admits that's what the previous Robin would do.
Batman commandeered someone's car. Yeah,
that's right.
This bright pink car.
He commandeered someone's car. Because if Two-Face had seen the Batmobile pulling up behind him, he would have known that it was Batman and acted out immediately. Which, there is some logic to that, but it's still really funny, the idea of Batman saying, I'm commandeering this vehicle.
It's not like he has a badge to flash either.
His whole costume's a badge. It's like...
I know, but... Yeah, I just all I picked as well. It's like this bright pink thing.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll get to the final beat in a second, but I mean, ultimately, the issue succeeds at showing Jason's been training. He has a classic sort of toe-to-toe with one of Batman's big rogues. The rogue plot itself is fun, I thought. A fun little silly heist. And then, ultimately, he gets to show off and be a bit of a hero in his hostage situation. Two-Face does get away, unfortunately, of course, though. The book ends with Jason saying, I don't want to go to bed yet. Can I stay up and study some more villains and stuff and do some homework? And Bruce's like, yeah, you're late to be wired. You've had a big night. Yeah, you can wind down and do some research. And almost immediately, when he's looking at Two-Face records, he finds his own father being labelled as dead, killed by Two-Face.
Oh, well, presumed dead, which means he's definitely showing back up.
True. But... yeah, so that's your cliffhanger. So even this is at least a 2-parter, and it's it's funny actually. I wonder, see when they were making Batman Forever, do you think they made Two-Face the person behind Grayson's death as were they combining Jason's like backstory a little bit with Dick's?
Maybe, but Dick has a history with Two-Face as well, right? So
He does. Yeah, Two-Face is well, it has been related to the Zuko thing, yeah. So it's not.
yeah, like I mean, I consider Two-Face to be as much of as is probably Robin's primary villain across the board. Just if you had to give a Robin an antagonist, it's usually Two-Face that ends up in the role.
Okay. I've never really considered I'm connected to Jason until I read this. So I'm just kind of going up by this issue.
I think with Jason, it gets overshadowed by what comes with the Joker, right?
Yeah, Two-Face didn't have no two crowbars.
He might have done. He might have just been too slow.
Some of the puns you give me shit for, that was
I know. I will hang my head in shame.
that was diabolical.
It was.
Yes, and I typically like the art in this issue. Actually, I thought the expressions on the henchmen's faces in particular, like all of their stuff with Two-Face, I thought was very animated, very cartoony, of course, but it made for an entertaining back and forth. So
I agree. It's pretty solid.
well, solid issue. Solid issue. What are you giving it?
I'm gonna give it a 6.5. I think it's pretty decent.
I was gonna go with a straight 7. I think it's good. Not great, but good.